Thanks for joining us on TVC News at 7 as we continue to focus on the state of insecurity in Nigeria. Henceforth, Nigerians may be going to bed with their two eyes closed, but that will only happen if the National Security Council speeds up its new strategies to curtail the worsening insecurity in the country. The council also acknowledged that Nigerians are tired and now gravitating towards self-help. That's according to the National Security Advisor, Major General Babcock, retired, who spoke at the end of the Security Council meeting convened by President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Femi Akode reports.
Another Security Council meeting, which again reflects the mood of the nation and depicts a frightening security situation that for now has defied all solutions thrown at it. The outcome this time is an announcement that security agencies are working on a new strategy to deal with existing and emerging threats to national security.
The members of the armed forces have also made a commitment that in the coming weeks, they've already started working on a new strategy to deal with these snippets of violence. And they've given their word, their commitment to the president that there will be a change in momentum.
Data from the Nigeria Security Tracker, a project of the Council on Foreign Relations of the United States, reveals that activities of violent, non-state actors had claimed more than 5,000 lives nationwide between January and June this year. At least 996 persons were violently killed in January, 765 in February, 1,214 in March, 917 in April, 594 in May, and 736 in June, totaling 5,222 in the first half of this year alone. It is at this Security Council meeting that new strategies to end the killings and violent crimes are conceived, and a plan of action is developed. But to stop this escalating insecurity, the federal government insists it must be with the support of citizens.
In this type of asymmetric conflict is a collective effort. It's not something that should be confined to only the security, intelligence, and law enforcement agencies. When we keep saying whole of society approach, whole of government approach, to get a whole of nation approach, what it means is that everybody has to partake in this enterprise.
Already the security threat level in the federal capital has been raised, especially after the recent ambush of soldiers from the Presidential Guard Brigade. The Kuje jailbreak is another breach of national security that has left many questions unanswered.
Council is in the process of winding up the special investigative panel on the Kuje incident. And the idea is to come up with recommendations, hold those who are supposed to be held accountable for their deeds, and to ensure that this type of thing never, ever, ever happens again in this country.
The federal government also acknowledges that citizens are tired and gravitating towards self-help. It appears the federal government is also worried about how the media reports issues of insecurity and the effect it has on the population, especially as the events in recent days have impacted the approval rating of President Buhari's administration. But the president is in a race against time to turn the tide. Femi Akode, TVC News, Abuja.
And for more on the outcome of the National Security Council meeting held earlier today in the nation's capital, let's talk to State House correspondent Femi Akode for more. It's not the first time government is reassuring Nigerians, but perhaps this is the first time government is acknowledging Nigerians are tired and perhaps gravitating towards self-help. When you hear the NSA talk about renewed momentum and new strategies, What do you think these words mean?
Well, Lifemi, I think those were the words of the service chiefs to reassure the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces that this time around they will step up to the plate, they will develop new strategy to ensure that the citizens in the country have a sense of safety and, of course, that security around the area, because over time, like the LSA himself acknowledged, Nigerians have become tired. We have had this kind of Security Council meetings where we hear of different pronouncements made by the president, issuing fresh directives, issuing new line of action, but all of these over time has amounted to nothing. People are still threatened, and people no longer feel safe around the country, and we see that even the theater of operation for the military has expanded beyond the northeast, the north central, to other parts of the country. We are hearing of violent attacks carried out in different parts of the country. There is a huge involvement now of non-state actors perpetrating violence in different parts of the country. And to some extent, some people would say that it appears security agencies are overwhelmed, and the president, just like the citizens, is particularly worried about this situation. And the security chiefs, the service chiefs, had to give that president their word of assurance that this time around they will ensure that all the strategies put in place yield positive results in the coming days. But well, these are just words. We expect them to match these words with action in the coming days, Nifemi.
Were there specific reaction to specific threats, for instance, in the FCT? Some bandits saying that they will kidnap and abduct the president and the Kaduna state governor, and perhaps the latest media documentary on government's failure in this regard.
Yes, we have seen what the feeling we are getting from security agencies is that the situation in the Federal Capital Territory has been brought under control. Even the presidential guard that was ambushed was able to repel the attackers around the Buhari area of the Federal Capital City. And the presidency and indeed the federal government is particularly worried about the way the media has reported or is reporting issues of insecurity. They say that these bandits and terrorists are now getting quality airtime and attention from the media, and they say the way the media is reporting this is also helping instill fear in the citizens and the federal government. And we've also heard from the Minister of Information, who is also threatening sanctions against media organizations who have allowed their platforms to be used by these bandits to propagate all these messages of terror and instill fear in citizens. The National Security Advisor also cautioned the media to ensure that they maintain decorum and put national security first above any other interest.
Absolutely. The figures you quoted about the casualty in the first half is mind-blowing, and that might just be the minimum. We'll see how government match words with action going forward. Femi Akonde live for us in Abuja. In Kaduna, the Nigerian Defense Academy, in collaboration with the University of Ibadan, has now set up a Center for Early Warning Studies on Security. The center, which has hubs in NDA and University of Ibadan, will provide a robust database on threats to national security and also collect data on the causes and incidences of insecurity in Nigeria. Lupi Assam has details.
Nigeria, together with other African countries, is grappling with various security threats. Over the last decade, it could be observed that internal conflicts have replaced international conflicts and new security challenges have continued to emerge. Among them, occurrences of pandemics, youth vulnerability and exclusion, terrorism and asymmetry warfare, and others. The NDA, being Nigeria's leading military research institute, is deepening debates among scholars to come up with solutions to these issues. That is why it has organized this two-day international conference themed Defense, Security and Sustainable Development in Africa.
This conference will address the dynamics of and nexus between defense, security and sustainable development.
My overall argument is that Africa has the resources to meet its needs and its demand. of this population. Not for speaking esoteric economic language which nobody understands. We must speak the language of sustainable development which everybody understands.
At the conference, a Center for Early Warning Studies is unveiled. This is a collaborative effort of the NDA in Kaduna and the University of Ibadan in Oyo State. The center would provide a robust national database on threats to national security.
The center will collect remote and longitudinal data on the causes and incidences of violence, criminality, terrorism, and insurgency in Nigeria, with a view to alerting relevant stakeholders on the potential dangers and guiding them to take appropriate actions. This center will have two main research hubs in the University of Ibadan and here in NDA, serving the southern and northern regions of the country respectively.
In recognition of the NDA Commandant's contribution to peace building, he is conferred with the honor Fellow of Society for Peace Studies and Practices. Over 200 postgraduate students and final year cadets are also inducted into the society. Lupe Asom, TVC News, Kaduna.
And now to judicial matters. It's some relief for the family of Hanifa Abubakar, the murdered 5-year-old pupil of Noble Kids Academy, as a KANO High Court today sentenced Abdulmalik Tanko and Hashimo Ishaku to death by hanging for finding them guilty of kidnapping and killing of the pupil. They were charged on 5 counts of criminal conspiracy, attempt to kidnap, abatement, kidnapping, and concealment of truth. The offences contravene the provisions of sections of the Penal Code, laws of Kano State 1991. In his judgment, Justice Usman Naaba sentenced Abdulmalik Tanko to death by hanging and 5 years for conspiracy. He also sentenced Hashim Ishaku to death by hanging and 2 years for concealment and kidnapping. The court also sentenced the third defendant, Fatima Jibrin, to 2 years imprisonment for attempt to kidnap and criminal conspiracy. The 5-year-old Hanifa was abducted by Mr. Tanko, who demanded ransom from her parents and was reported to have killed her in December last year. From Kano to Abuja, where a federal high court has granted the suspended Accountant General of the Federation, Idris Ahmed, and his co-defendants bail upon terms and conditions given by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Delivering ruling, Justice Adeyemi Ajayi ordered that the defendants shall not leave the Federal Capital Territory, and if they want to, they would have to seek clearance from the court or have their bail revoked. The court also stated that the defendants shall sign an undertaking that they will abide by the bail conditions. However, prosecuting counsel Rotimi Jacobs expressed displeasure over the court's leniency in granting bail to the defendants by adopting the terms of administrative bail earlier granted. But the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says it has opened its case against the former AGF. Ahmed Idris and his co-defendants have been in and out of court within the last 2 weeks following a 14-count charge bordering on theft and criminal breach of trust to the tune of 109.5 billion naira preferred against them by the Nigerian government. Thanks for staying with us. Today is the World Hepatitis Day, and it's a day set aside by the United Nations organization to raise awareness on the global burden of the viral disease. According to the World Health Organization, over 350 million people are living with viral hepatitis, and it accounts for over 1 million annual global deaths. In Africa, the global health body estimates that more than 91 million Africans live with the deadliest B or C strains, and that Nigeria accounts for some 19 million of the figure. The theme of this year's commemoration, Bringing Hepatitis Care Closer to You, seeks to bring care closer to primary health facilities for the public to have better access to treatment and care. Hepatitis is an inflammation of the liver, which can be prevented through the use of sterile injections, safe sex, and vaccination, among others, with a global target of 2030 set by global partners to eliminate the disease. Let's talk now to public health expert Dr. Adegbami Oluwatobi, who joins me live from Lagos for more on this viral disease called hepatitis. Doctor, so government is saying nearly 20 million Nigerians are infected. Just how burdensome is this figure relative to other infectious diseases?
Okay. Well, the burden of hepatitis is huge, and then it's huge because hepatitis is referred to as a silent killer. All right, it's a silent killer because those who are affected by it, most of them don't know until it is too late. All right, you probably not get no symptom, no sign until it has degenerated. It's a silent killer because it can be passed from mother to child. All right, a child that was brought into this world, if the mother is unaware, hepatitis could be passed down to the child. It's also a silent killer because a safe and effective vaccine has been available around the world for more than 4 decades. Still, one person dies every 30 seconds from an hepatitis-related infection. That is according to the World Health Organization. So I cannot see a bigger burden for an infectious disease, but for hepatitis. That's why I think that the awareness is low, and a lot of work needs to be done to get people sensitized to know their hepatitis status and take steps towards prevention and safety.
Talking about low awareness for the silent killer, just how do you know if you're a carrier, if you have hepatitis? What must everyone do? Are you recommending a periodic test in this regard?
Yeah, okay. So now, if you don't take a test, you wouldn't know. All right, you would not know for a very long time until it has degenerated. All right, now the liver has so many important functions in the body, and when the liver, when hepatitis affects the liver and it goes from liver cirrhosis to liver cancer, all right, and then the liver failure eventually, and the liver is unable to function. Eventually, if there is no liver transplant, it leads to death. Now, if you do not carry out the test, there's no way to know early enough to make any step towards prevention or to make any step towards treatment. So early testing and awareness is important in curbing hepatitis.
I'm wondering just how often one should take that test. But I also want to ask you, this year's commemoration talks about bringing hepatitis care close to you. How equipped are our primary health centers? How adequately equipped are them to be able to provide care for people who have this challenge?
Okay, so I would like to just spin that around a little bit. So it is, even when the primary healthcare centers are equipped, the question is, do our people come around for regular tests? Okay, most Nigerians don't go for regular checkups unless if there's a problem. They're already feeling the pain, the fever, or the general body weakness, and then they need a solution. That is when they go to the hospital to run any check. Oh, what is wrong with me, doctor? All right, but for hepatitis, trust me, we are assuming that people will not come to us. This year, we are taking the hepatitis campaign to the people. Okay, that is why if you look around Nigeria today, we have been able to, push a lot of outreaches around the communities, all right, markets, religious grounds, corporate institutions, partner with several NGOs to push, this awareness of hepatitis. And I'm proud to say that EMSA Pharmaceuticals sponsored free screening all around the country. I'm sure we've gone more than 20 to 30,000 people year to date, all right, free screening for people to at least know their status and then make a decision towards prevention and safety.
Since for hepatitis. I'm asking if there are vaccines for hepatitis.
Yes, there are vaccines for hepatitis B especially. All right, the vaccine for hepatitis A and hepatitis B, and then more common in our region is hepatitis B. The vaccine is readily available and it's very cheap in most of the hospitals. Okay, now for the Nigerian government, in collaboration with Gavi, has been able to provide the hepatitis B vaccine for children. Now, every child being born has to take that vaccine within 24 hours of birth. Okay, but it was introduced in Nigeria in 2004. But what happens to the adults that were born before 2004? What happened to the children that the awareness of hepatitis did not get to their parents in the early years of their birth? Okay, so how do we begin to get that information to them that even though they are not kids anymore, it is still important for them to get themselves and their family members, the people around them, protected? So that is why the awareness has to be continuous. And I would say that, community leaders need to begin to support this movement, increased awareness among our healthcare practitioners.
Indeed.
A lot of us.
Indeed, Doctor. It's a good place to leave it. We'll be back with you for more. Public health expert Adigbami Oluwatobi, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on this topic.
Thank you.
And still talking health, about 300 physicians from 13 countries in West African sub-region are advocating improved infrastructure to build a functional healthcare system. Bamidele Ajayi has more.
An average of 20,000 Nigerians travel to India each year for medical assistance due to the absence of solid healthcare system back in the country. UNICEF recent survey disclosed that preventable infectious disease such as malaria, pneumonia, diarrhea, measles, and HIV/AIDS account for more than 70% of the estimated 1 million under 5 deaths in the country. The country health sector is confronted with many problems, including poor hygiene, corruption, poor health infrastructure, fake drugs, insufficient financial investment, and inadequate health personnel due to annual medical brain drain. At the annual General and Scientific Meeting of West Africa College of Physicians, Nigerian chapter held in Enugu, the physicians enumerate successes recorded in the area of training of practitioners.
The brain drain, we will know, is an economic problem, and that is an issue that government should handle. On our side, we have continued to train high-quality physicians.
The medical specialist body appealed to government to address issues that are not within the college mandate. They reaffirmed the commitment not to lower the standard of manpower, but appealed to government to address the economic problems that encourage medical tourism.
So we will be appealing to government to ensure that they put in the tools in the hospitals, because we have already trained people with enough competencies that they will also get abroad that they are getting here. And I think you can see the recent example of the vice president. Yeah, these are the, once we put the tools in place, the people we train have the competencies to deliver.
We have people from Ghana coming to Nigeria, Nigeria coming to Ghana, and etc., and vice versa for health tourism. In Nigeria, there are centers of excellence. That is also something that the government must look at private-public partnership.
The event is expected to have 300 physicians who will interrogate the emerging challenges in fragile conflict areas, vaccine hesitancy, and universal health coverage. They will also make recommendations that will halt brain drain in the sub-region. Bamidele Ajayi, TVC News, Enugu.
You're watching TVC News at 7. Shareholders at the annual general meeting of Ikeja Hotel Group want government to improve environment for businesses to thrive in the country. Senior correspondent KANO reports.
The occasion is the presentation of a formal business account for the year 2021 by Ikeja Hotel PLC to its shareholders.
In accordance with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 and the Company's Articles of Association, I hereby lay before this meeting the Director's Report, the balance sheet, together with the financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2021.
That sets the ball rolling for the business of the day. Though extreme economic conditions hit hard on business activities, directors of the company said they were able to work in modest ways to keep the company afloat. Figures presented at the AGM showed that the hotel group recorded a modest revenue of 9.86 billion naira, above the previous earnings of 5.06 billion naira. According to the managing director of the hotel, the achievements resulted from prudent management of resources and expanded services.
We had a very beautiful performance. Our turnover doubled last year, and the board is doing everything to ensure that costs are well managed. So what we have achieved today is almost 100%, about 97% of what we had last year. Our profit is also about 43 to 50% increase what we have last year. So we have done very, very well.
Shareholders react to the annual report and accounts presented.
I'm excited. And one thing I look forward to is to see whether we can maintain the tempo and whether we can push the frontiers of the business, both from the top line and then the bottom line.
Mr. Chairman, I want to call our attention to our trade receivables. We need to keep the figure under control because at this stage, I think we need all the monies we can lay our hands upon to do and continue with our business.
Management staff of the company pointed out that the negative impacts of COVID-19 pandemic on service deliveries reinforces losses in key operations. Ivy, KANO, TVC News, Lagos.
Babcock University has held its 11th doctoral holding ceremony at its campus in Ileshan-Remo, Ogun State, southwest Nigeria. About 159 doctoral graduates passed out from the university after pursuing various postgraduate courses for the 2021-2022 academic session. Senior correspondent Sharon Jasso was there. She now reports, and we'll be back with business news.
The management of Babcock University, Ileshan-Remo in Ogun State held its holding ceremony to celebrate 159 doctoral graduates who are expected to make impact based on their research thesis and studies.
I challenge you today to take a leadership role in your profession, in your community, and in your country. We need your leadership in this complicated world, your knowledge and your critical thinking skills, not only in your profession, but in the communities and countries where you live. We all have to use the knowledge we have garnered from here to make the world to be a better place. The education you receive is a means of developing your greatest abilities, because in each of us, there's a private hope and dream which fulfilled can be translated into benefit for everyone and greater strength for our nation.
During the valedictory speech presented by Modupe Adetayo on behalf of other doctorate graduates on the 2021-2022 academic session, they stated that they are ready to make a difference in the society with their exceptional education experience.
I charge us this day that as we go out there into a hyper-diverse, divided society, let us be compelled to use our educational experience to make a difference, because there's something different about Babcock University, a place that now marks our intellectual biography.
Babcock University, Ileshan-Remo, God's own university, is a citadel of learning. We've got very impressive, dedicated, committed lecturers who are more fathers than lecturers, and they actually took us through this journey, and we are grateful today.
Undergraduate and postgraduate students of the institution are expected to be conferred with various degrees at the convocation ceremony at the weekend. Sharon Jaspon, TVC News.
In business news, as part of efforts aimed at helping Nigeria cushion the effect of the ongoing Russia-Ukraine crisis on vulnerable households, the United States has committed $55 million towards the food security relief to the federal government. According to the U.S. ambassador to Nigeria, Mary Beth Leonard, the financial aid is part of President Joe Biden's recent pledge at the G7 Leaders Summit in Germany, adding that the funds will be administered through the U.S. Agency for International Development under its agriculture, nutrition, and humanitarian assistance programs. She maintains that the funds will help immediately address the economic, food, and nutrition needs of vulnerable communities in Nigeria, most adversely impacted by higher food, fuel, and fertilizer prices. Despite the harsh operating environment in the country due to high price of diesel, foreign exchange scarcity, among other challenges, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria recorded a marginal 0.7% increase in the second quarter Q2 of 2022. According to the Manufacturers CEO's Confidence Index recently released by MAN, the MCCI index increased to 54.6 points from 53.9 points recorded in the first quarter of the year, despite the plethora of challenges signaling manufacturers' feeble hope in the economy. The association noted the mega improvement in index score in the second quarter of 2022, which implies that manufacturers' confidence in the economy is slightly improved above what was obtained in the preceding quarter. Noteworthy is the fact that business conditions in the quarter under review was more challenging than what was obtained in the first quarter of the year, just as employment conditions worsened, but the manufacturers responded to the economic challenges that prevailed in the quarter with appropriate survival strategies and adjustments, including remodeling of production operations after the marginal slowdown experienced in the first quarter. A woman empowerment advocates group is seeking better economic empowerment for women aged 40 and above. The group, who has a project already channeled towards giving such women better lives, now wants well-meaning Nigerians and government keying into this cause. Lara Folayan reports.
Jolia Bani is one woman who has braved the odds to succeed as a female entrepreneur in Nigeria, but it wasn't an easy road to success. This is largely due to prevailing societal conditions in the country, which are most times not very favorable to women.
I've been doing this, taking women off the street. Not just women, but women who has got babies. You see those children, those women, teenagers, backing their babies and carrying something on their head. When I see that, it will break my heart.
Jolie is concerned that many Nigerian women are talented but lack the platforms to express themselves and earn a decent living from it. Her dream is to particularly see those who are 40 and above and may have given up on living a good quality of life excel in various fields.
Whenever I visit my hometown in Ebonyi State and I see my mates, they look 80, some look 70. They didn't make it being a nurse, teacher, doctor, whatever. They're not even better gardeners or farmers. They are doing from their hand to mouth. But it's not late. It's better late than delayed. We are alive. So as long as you're alive, there's no limit to what you can do.
All we see on TV is pretty much for the younger generation, for a younger audience. So it felt like there wasn't enough programs catching for the more mature, the older age group.
Already she has an existing collaboration with the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency and a commercial bank to give soft loans to 10 selected women. She now wants the government and other well-meaning Nigerians to key in. The Women Affairs Minister's attention is particularly sought in this regard.
I was still looking forward that she will come along one of these days and put that call through or send her own contribution.
Jolie remains committed to a vision of women empowerment. Her utmost joy is living her dream of helping bridge the gender parity gap and improve the economic inclusion of women, especially those who have clocked 40 and above. Lara Folayan, TVC News, Abuja.
Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigerian Council is calling for enforcement of stiff penalty for gas flaring in the country. Chairman of the association, Mr. Olalekan Olafuyi, made this known at a media briefing ahead of the 2022 Nigerian Annual International Conference and Exhibition, which will hold in Lagos. Details in this report.
Despite their huge oil and gas deposits, Nigeria and its sister countries are still grappling with high energy deficit, leading to the drag in the continent's socio-economic development, with resultant acute poverty and wide-scale unemployment. This development has prompted Africa's political and business leaders, including stakeholders in the oil and gas industry, to brainstorm on how they can prepare the continent to prevent the heavy impact of the transition on the continent by turning it into opportunities. Speaking at a media briefing ahead of the forthcoming Nigeria Annual International Conference and Exhibition put together by the Society of Petroleum Engineers Nigeria Council, the chairman, Mr. Olalekan Olafuye, says discussions at the event will center on the current realities hampering growth in the oil and gas industry.
The world is facing the challenges of balancing the urgency of transition to cleaner energy with the obvious energy deficit and economic challenges experienced in recent times. It is expected that adaptive strategies for energy transition should be adopted in Africa. This is the core of this year conference.
On the spate of oil theft in the country, Mr. Olafuye noted that the SPE is ready to assist the government in providing solutions that could curb the menace.
Penalty that NUPRC is going to be putting on people using flaring gases now is going to go higher. In doing that, you either prefer to utilize your gas than flaring it because you're going to be losing in two ways. We will suggest a way out for the Nimasa DG, and we hope this will be taken into consideration and all this will come to an end in the shortest time.
The 2022 edition of NICE, with the theme Global Transition to Renewable and Sustainable Energy and the Future of Oil and Gas in Africa, will feature contributions from major stakeholders in the industry and focus on the future of Africa's hydrocarbon sector amidst the ongoing energy transition challenge. Blessed Omonose, TVC News, Lagos.
Oil prices on the international market gained more than $1 a barrel today, extending gains from the previous session, buoyed by improved risk appetite among investors, while lower crude inventories and a rebound in gasoline demand in the United States supported prices. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude recorded a price increase of 1.32% to hit $98.54 per barrel. Brent sells at $107.60 per barrel, registering an upward price margin of 0.92%. Bonnie Light's performance continued losing streak, with a price drop of 3.25% to sell at $118.10 per barrel. For the OPEC basket, crude dealers offer $109.40 with a price surge of 2.90%.